Guten Tag, Kinder. Welcome to the Composer Detective, where we investigate the lives and the music of some of the world's great and influential composers. I am your host, George Frideric Handel. You may remember that I am a German composer from the Baroque era, though I lived most of my life in England. I am known for water music, operas, and oratorios such as Messiah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I am Handel, George Frideric Handel. Remember, the Baroque era of music was such a great time of grand, fancy, and almost decorated sounding music, with a frivolous use of frills, trills, and extra notes. Johann Sebastian Bach and I were composers during this era. Yeah, I am Johann Sebastian Bach, the German Baroque composer, one of the three Bs, and considered by some to be the greatest composer. In my lifetime, though, I was not known so much as a composer, though I was prolific in writing concertos, cantatas, oratorios, toccatas and fugues, and inventions. But I was a famous organist and choir director who was from a family of musicians. I want my music to be to the glory of God. Then there was the musical era that came after me, the classical era. In the classical era, music was very structured and orderly, like the music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Ludwig van Beethoven was also a classical era composer, though his later music pushed orchestral music into a new era called the Romantic era. Johannes Brahms is also a Romantic era composer. Guten Tag. I, Johannes Brahms, am also a well-loved Romantic composer, known for my use of counterpoint and rhythm and my rich and full orchestral compositions. I am one of the three Bs, the three influential composers from Germany: Johann Sebastian Bach, Ludwig van Beethoven, and me, Johannes Brahms. Today, let's take a trip back to the late 1800s to meet a Russian composer from the Romantic era. Remember, the Romantic era is a period of music, art, and literature that is often characterized by the unabashed expression of emotion. This composer was very moody, and his music captures all of his emotions very well. His name is Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Good morning, Pyotr. Are you all right?
Good day. Dobre utro. How can you call it a good day? I am having a terrible day, like I often do. If only I had not gone away to school so young. If only I had not been separated from my mama. And then she died, and it has affected my whole life.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear you're having a bad day. Perhaps you could tell me about a good day you were having when you were writing your ballet, The Nutcracker. It sounds so cheerful in most of it. I'm sure all of us recognize this.
Oh, da! Yes, these are delightful melodies, aren't they? The Nutcracker is one of my most famous ballets. I also wrote music for the ballets The Sleeping Beauty and Swan Lake, and it is said I am at my best in my ballets with my gift of melody and brilliant orchestrations. When I was a child, my mama took me to the ballet, and I was so inspired by the graceful dancers. Those were good times, and I enjoy composing music for the ballet, which is so much a part of the Russian culture, Ruskaya kultura. I like to use folk melodies in my music.
Can you tell us a bit about your training?
I started piano lessons at age 5, and I was as good at reading music as my teacher by the time I was 8.
Yeah, I, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, was also a fantastic musician as a child, as everyone knows. When I was 3, I started to learn to play the violin and the piano. I could replay melodies after hearing them one time. My parents were both musicians, and my father, Leopold, nurtured my musical talent and took me touring around Europe. When I was 4, I started composing piano concertos, and I wrote my first opera by the time I was 11. I am the greatest composer who ever lived.
Everyone talks about Mozart as being a child prodigy, but I, Ludwig van Beethoven, also learned to play the violin, piano, and organ at a young age. I started playing for my teacher when he needed a substitute by the time I was 11. I published my first sonatinas when I was 13. There are, and will be, 1,000 princes. There is only one Beethoven. But my parents did not want me to be a poor musician, so they sent me to law school in St. Petersburg. Of course, I quit, and I went to study music at St. Petersburg Conservatory under the famous pianist and composer Anton Rubinstein.
My father also wanted me to study law, and I studied law for a short time, but I too quit and made music my career. I, Igor Stravinsky, can relate to you, Tchaikovsky, in that though my father was an opera singer and my mother was a pianist, and while I wanted to study music, my parents wanted me to go to law school. I often went to the opera when I was growing up, and one time, across the room, I saw you, my hero, Tchaikovsky. Can you imagine the world if we had all been lawyers instead of composers? What a dull place the world would have been without our music.
Later, I became a music theory teacher at Moscow Conservatory. I composed, traveled, and conducted some. But do you know, when I am conducting, I am so anxious that I think my head will fall off. So, I always hold onto my beard when I am conducting so that my head does not fall off. Anyway, I even got to go to New York and conduct at the opening concert at Carnegie Hall. I am the first of the Russian composers to gain international fame. If I do say so myself, I am the best of the romantic composers.
Indeed, it does seem that we can feel what you were feeling when you composed your pieces.
Da, my life has been hard. I got married, but it did not last. And I had a sponsor who helped me to afford to compose at one point, Nadezhda von Meck, a wealthy widow of a railroad entrepreneur. We agreed to never meet, but I dedicated my 4th symphony to her because I considered her a dear friend. but now we do not speak. I am so sad.
Nadezhda van Meck? You have never met? Why, I, Claude Debussy, became the piano teacher for her and her children and traveled around with them for a few years. I'm trying new sounds and breaking from the classical and romantic eras by pushing music into a modern era.
You are not helping my grief. I just finished composing my Sixth Symphony, and the last movement, which you should listen to, expresses all the grief of my life. But please, remember me for the beautiful and charming melodies of my ballets which inspire us all. Let's review about me. Repeat after me. My name is Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky.
Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky,
1840 to 1893.
1840 to 1893.
Russian Romantic Era composer.
Russian Romantic Era composer.
Emotional person.
Emotional person.
Known for beautiful melodies
Known for beautiful melodies
and rich orchestrations.
and rich orchestrations.
Ballets, operas, and symphonies.
Ballets, operas, and symphonies.
До свидания, дети. Goodbye, children.
Danke. Thank you for joining me on The Composer Detective today. Join me again another time where we will learn about the lives and music of other great composers like Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky and me, Handel.